Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to talk now about the conditions of Armenian prisoners of war in Azerbaijan and the treatment by Azerbaijani authorities. The monitoring of footage posted on social media, as well as the interviews conducted with repatriated prisoners of war and civilians, and study of available open-source information reveal that prisoners of war, both military and civilians, were subjected to torture, ill treatment and degrading treatment, causing them grave suffering or injury to body and health while in Azerbaijani custody. There is plenty of evidence demonstrating how prisoners of war are being beaten, mocked, and humiliated upon capture by members of Azerbaijani armed forces during transfer to all types of detention facilities while in custody in Azerbaijan. We have examined dozens of videos showing Azerbaijani soldiers slapping, kicking, hitting and prodding, threatening to mutilate the prisoners of war and compelling them, under obvious duress and with the apparent intent to humiliate them, to kiss the Azerbaijani flag, swear at the Armenian Prime Minister, and declare that Karabakh is Azerbaijan. The videos not only feature scenes of humiliation, intimidation, physical violence, and insults, but also the mistreatment of the bodies of killed Armenian servicemen. The videos, moreover, showed the sexual abuse against Armenian servicewomen. We conducted also interviews with repatriated prisoners of war who were detained in 2020, who reported about being subjected to such treatment, starting from their capture and up until their repatriation. The interviewed former prisoners of war have told that starting from the capture until their transfer to prison, they were subjected to beatings. Their skin was burnt by cigarettes. Those who had cross-sign tattoos, their skin was especially burnt. Some of them were subjected to electric shock, were forced to stay in the same position for hours. They were poured with cold water while sleeping. There existed special beating groups who beat the prisoners regularly a couple of times during a day, and beatings with special batons until they lost consciousness. When they came to consciousness, they started beating them again. Wounded prisoners of war also reported being ill-treated by medical personnel, including while in hospital. In several instances, those having injuries in their legs were forced to stand on that leg for hours. On some of the videos taken by Azerbaijan servicemen themselves in September 2022, it is clearly seen that wounded prisoners of war are not treated. On the contrary, Armenian servicemen with bleeding wounds have their hands tied behind their backs, lying on the ground and breathing with difficulty. Beating and abuse took place mostly when they were transferred from place to capture to temporary command places set by Azerbaijani military. Upon capture, Azerbaijani servicemen tied their hands with a zip tie or plastic rope that in some cases remained on their hands for several days. As a result, their hands were swollen. We have established that the use of plastic zip ties or ropes by Azerbaijani servicemen were common. Some of them reported that persons who introduced themselves as their lawyers, handed over some paper in Azerbaijan for signature, also tried to convince them to denounce the Armenian citizenship and stay in Azerbaijan. Prison guards told them that Armenia was not willing to repatriate them. Some of the interviewed prisoners of war also reported that Azerbaijan servicemen logged into their social media networks and posted content, including videos with their statements made under pressure. 19-year-old Arman, the name is changed, recounts. At their command point, Azerbaijani servicemen surrounded me. Some of these men didn't speak Russian, but showed with gestures that they would cut my throat. One of the men showed 7 fingers and a throat-cutting gesture. I understood that he had cut the throats of 7 people. I thought they would do the same with me. They started beating me. They didn't care about my wound. If the commander didn't show up in time and order not to abuse me, I would have been killed now. All interviewed repatriated prisoners of war reported that they were subject to beatings also at the premises of the military police. In particular, older prisoners of war were treated worse than younger ones for their alleged participation in the First Karabakh War. Some of the interviewed prisoners of war stated that they were threatened that all those captured Armenians would have to pay for everything happened yet in 1990s. The interviews reported that the initial phase of their captivity by Azerbaijan servicemen, up until the transfer to prison, they received no food or in small portions. In some cases, during the first 4 to 5 days, Armenian captives were Provided with no food, they made them starve. Besides information obtained from interviews, the footage posted on social media on different periods of timing during the 44-day war and after that shows different groups of captured persons in Armenian military uniform, which, based on already presented reliable evidence, have been subjected to the same or similar treatment. Numerous civilians have been taken as hostages by the Azerbaijani military in the course of military activities. The evidence again shows that Azerbaijan took hostage and held captive civilians who were unable or unwilling to leave their homes and villages, even though they posed no security threat. Moreover, the evidence shows that during such captivity, civilians were either killed, including through decapitation while alive and tortured to death, or were subjected to torture and ill treatment by beating, cutting their ears. It should be mentioned also that the same practice was revealed also during the blockade of 2023. During the blockade, many Ankara residents, including those in need of medical assistance, were hesitant to cross the checkpoint due to the fear of being abducted. The interviews conducted with Ankara residents after being forcibly displaced revealed that those under Azerbaijani custody were ill-treated and beaten. A civilian having mental disabilities was beaten even by medical